Dear ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to welcome you back to today's International Weather Report. The United States is now facing a notably significant seasonal transition. Multiple waves of cold air are preparing to plunge southward, including at least one wave that forecast models suggest could become a true Arctic outbreak, capable of driving temperatures sharply downward and opening the door for additional winter weather patterns, such as snow, ice, and extended cold winds. Along with that, the upcoming month of December is drawing a great deal of attention, as atmospheric signals indicate the potential for increased cold and a higher probability of winter conditions across many parts of the country. Before we get into the details, if you find analyses like this useful, we respectfully invite you to support the channel by subscribing, liking, and sharing this report with relatives and friends living in the United States. And, as always, if you have any prayer requests or personal concerns that you wish to share, please leave them in the comments below. It is one of the ways we can support one another during periods of harsh weather. Ladies and gentlemen, we will begin with the temperature outlook for Thanksgiving week. The key time frame of interest is the morning of Tuesday, November 25th, when the United States officially enters its peak travel week. At this point, much of the territory from the central U.S. to the east will still be warmer than the long-term average. On the temperature anomaly map, this area appears in orange, red, and pink shades, representing temperatures above the climatological norm. However, across the northern Rockies and the Pacific Northwest, cold air begins spilling southward, signaling the arrival of the first major weather shift. By the night before Thanksgiving, November 26th, the leading edge of this cold air begins breaking down the warm air mass, forming the first cold front sweeping through the central part of the country. This is considered a late November-style cold shot, not extremely severe, but enough to deliver a noticeable jolt for regions that have been accustomed to unusually warm temperatures for several consecutive days. Many areas across the Central Plains and the northern Gulf Coast may shift from warm to chilly conditions overnight. Moving into Thanksgiving Day, November 27th, cold air continues spilling eastward. At this point, a major challenge for local meteorologists along the East Coast will be determining the exact position of the frontal boundary. A shift of just a few hundred kilometers could completely change the holiday weather experience. Some areas may remain warmer than normal, while others become several degrees colder. According to the current scenario, this first cold wave mainly brings temperatures several to more than 10 degrees Celsius below average, especially across the northern plains and the Rockies. Meanwhile, the West Coast tends to warm up again as the cold trough shifts eastward. By the final days of November, around the 28th, 29th, and 30th, the first cold wave is expected to persist, making the weekend after Thanksgiving quite chilly for much of the eastern United States. What draws special attention from meteorologists during this period is the signal of an extremely sharp Arctic boundary, forming right behind this first system. On mid-level temperature anomaly maps, the deep cold pool appears in dark blue and purple streaks, directly contrasting the warm reds and oranges ahead of it. This is the hallmark of an Arctic front, or what people in the southern plains sometimes call a blue norther, a type of front after which temperatures can plunge at an astonishing speed. AI-enhanced models, especially the Euro AI version, have been emphasizing the possibility of such a boundary plunging into the central United States at the very start of December. In the extreme scenario, a dramatic contrast could occur simultaneously. Houston remaining hot with temperatures in the mid-80s DGF, around 30 degrees, while Amarillo in northern Texas drops to around 11 degrees, below 10 degrees. Such massive temperature contrasts are not unprecedented. Plains residents call them Arctic hammer blows, but when they occur, they are always accompanied by strong wind shifts, pressure drops, and the potential for widespread winter storms. However, it must be stressed that these simulations are still very far out, 10 to 15 days away, beyond the typical reliability range for forecasting. The AI model shows the Arctic air mass possibly plunging into the central U.S. down to the Gulf Coast, while the traditional European model, Euro, is far more cautious, suggesting only a moderate cold wave passing across the plains without completely shattering the warm air in the southeast. Meanwhile, the ensemble runs of the Euro model, often considered more reliable, present an intermediate scenario, still showing the potential for a significantly strong cold wave, but with a less extreme magnitude and coverage compared to the standalone AI model. This indicates that while the possibility of a very strong cold outbreak is real, the actual intensity still needs to be monitored closely as we approach early December. Looking further into December, the structure of the upper-level jet stream and large-scale climate oscillations, such as the MJO, Madden-Julian Oscillation, and the potential for sudden stratospheric warming, SSW, in the polar region, are creating a complex but intriguing picture. In early December, many models agree on the likelihood of the eastern U.S. warming temporarily due to a strong southeast ridge, meaning that after the late November cold, residents along the Atlantic coastline may experience a few mild, dry days, suitable for early Christmas season activities. However, as the MJO gradually transitions into colder, favorable phases, especially Phase 8, which is typically associated with enhanced cold outbreaks across much of North America, then from mid-December onward, the likelihood of multiple strong cold waves, including Arctic-sourced ones, becomes more supported. Geopotential height anomaly maps show a trend toward a deep trough forming over the northeastern U.S., while the West and Alaska trend toward building a strong ridge. Such a pattern often allows cold air from Canada to surge directly into the Great Lakes and Midwest, then push deeper into the south and southeast in subsequent surges. Along with this, snow accumulation probability maps for the next 15 to 30 days reveal a clear trend. The snow belt is likely to shift gradually southward over time. In late November and early December, snow signals are strongest over the Great Lakes, the Northeast, and the western mountain states. But into the latter half of December, the potential snow lobe begins sinking toward the Ohio Valley and even flickering into Tennessee, North Carolina, and some inland parts of the South. This is not a forecast for any specific snowstorm, but rather a sign that the atmosphere is gradually setting the stage for more classic winter scenarios during the Christmas-New Year period. In the short term, today's weather across the United States remains quite dynamic. A disturbance sliding through the mid-Atlantic and southern New England may bring rain transitioning into wet snow across portions of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and even near New York City, creating an early winter ambiance, though accumulations should remain low. Farther south, much of the southeast, from the Carolinas through Georgia and Alabama, continues experiencing a prolonged dry pattern with visibly parched soils and elevated wildfire risks. In contrast, the southern plains in Texas today face a corridor of strong thunderstorms. Numerous storm cells are developing from New Mexico through the Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma, Kansas, and eastward. Meteorologists have issued a level 1-5 severe weather risk over a broad area, with primary hazards being strong wind gusts, heavy rainfall, and isolated hail. In parts of central and southern Texas, prolonged rainfall may trigger rapid flooding and flash floods in urban zones and low-lying areas. Out west, states like Arizona, New Mexico, and Colorado continue to receive a rare but beneficial round of rain for this season. While the rain may disrupt hiking and outdoor activities, it helps reduce wildfire danger and improve soil moisture. In higher elevations, some of the precipitation will transition to snow, gradually building the snowpack needed for next year's meltwater season. Across the northern plains, including North Dakota, Minnesota, and the Lake Michigan region, rain showers and storms accompany strong winds and low temperatures, delivering a biting chill. Meanwhile, farther northeast, across New England, residents are enjoying a stretch of sunny, dry, and cool weather, though the lack of rainfall is contributing to ongoing drought conditions. This can influence the autumn foliage cycle, causing leaves to change color and fall more quickly, while gradually diminishing surface water sources. In southern Florida, short tropical downpours continue almost daily from Orlando southward, bringing localized flooding risks but also helping offset rainfall shortages compared to other regions. In summary, from now until the end of November, the U.S. is likely to experience a season-opening cold wave during Thanksgiving weekend, delivering a clear winter feel to the east and central northern regions. Then, early December may feature a pattern of alternating warm and cold phases, with temporary warmth in the east, but increasing cold buildup in the north and west. And from mid-December onward, current signals lean toward the possibility of deep cold outbreaks, potentially Arctic in nature, interacting with low-pressure systems to produce opportunities for snowstorms, wintry precipitation, and winter weather spreading farther south than usual. All of this still contains significant uncertainty, but these are scenarios that both winter weather enthusiasts and those involved in transportation, energy, and agriculture should carefully monitor. In the final part of today's report, please allow us to share a brief reflection inspired by biblical teachings on the connection between faith and action. Faith is truly alive only when expressed through concrete deeds, perhaps a kind word, an act of kindness towards someone struggling through a storm, or simply a gesture of goodness during harsh weather days. Amid repeated cold fronts, snowstorms, and floods affecting many communities, each of us has an opportunity to transform belief and compassion into everyday actions. Sharing a warm coat, helping a family repair a leaky roof, or spending a moment calling to check on relatives or elderly neighbors living alone. Ladies and gentlemen, the weather may change rapidly, but human kindness and care are what help us remain steadfast amid such turbulence. We wish you a peaceful day, productive work, and protection on every journey during these colder days. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss our upcoming updates. Thank you sincerely, and we look forward to seeing you again in tomorrow's program.